Hello again. In this third video of Help Your Loved Ones with Brain Fog, 3 Keys to Essential Support, I focus on how you can best partner with your loved one while on the brain fog journey together. Because even though brain fog isn't happening in you, it has ripple effects that impact you as well. Thank you for tuning in to part 3 of this video series. In case you missed it, I'm Leilani Saez, and I'm a brain wellness coach. I specialize in helping adults with brain fog, focus, and forgetting concerns work with their brains instead of against them. In my earlier videos, I shared what brain fog is and its common causes, as well as ways to improve and cope with it better. In this video, I discuss the third key to essential support, partnership. Partnership involves your mindset and your role in the brain fog experience. We want to keep the relationship healthy while you navigate these uncertain waters together. Your compassionate, patient, and helpful support are great, but not if they come at a tremendous cost to you or the relationship. So we want the relationship to thrive despite the curves and turns that brain fog might create. So let's begin by taking a moment to do a personal inventory. Let's check in with how you're doing on the brain fog journey. I'll read each statement aloud, and I want you to mentally rate how you're doing on a scale of 0, never, to 4, regularly. We're just checking in to see where you're at. Don't worry if your numbers aren't as you'd like them to be. This is just for your information only. So here we go. Number 1, I handle my loved one's brain fog well. Give that a rating 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. I handle my loved one's brain fog well. Number 2, I understand what's happening when brain fog rolls in. Number 3, I feel hopeful that I can support my loved one on brain foggy days. And number 4, I take care of myself as well as I take care of my loved one with brain fog. Now, just take a brief moment to let these scores sink in and consider brain fog's impact on you. And if you need to take a moment to reflect, feel free to pause the video and come back. Now, although you can't fix your loved one's brain fog, there are things you can do, think, and feel to make matters better. Your support can make an important difference in the experience of this uncertain, frustrating, scary, and potentially isolating condition. By listening to this talk, you've taken an important step to learn more, and that's crucial for providing essential support. I firmly believe that when we know better, we can do better. So if your numbers felt a little uneasy to you, just take that as information, as the recognition that you've now found your starting point for growth. The brain fog experience can be easily misunderstood by observation alone because none of us can see what's really going on. I share these common misinterpretations because they can undermine essential support. For example, if your loved one is struggling to recall known information, forgets what they're doing, gets confused, or mixes things up, these are problems around memory and thinking that can be misinterpreted as mindless, not caring, or a lack of capability. If your loved one is experiencing a short concentration span, is easily distracted or unfocused, these are problems around attention that can be misinterpreted as not listening, not trying, being spacey. And if your loved one is experiencing headaches, extra fatigue, low stamina, a lack of motivation, these are problems around energy that are commonly misinterpreted as not taking care of themselves, being weak or being a baby or being lazy. To be clear, no one means harm with these misunderstandings. But what can begin as a reactive internal monologue can quietly slip into limiting beliefs and expectations that get in the way of effective support. Because what we think shapes how we do and feel. And if you've ever had any of these thoughts, rest assured that you're not alone. And by tuning into the first video in this series, you hopefully won't see these kinds of symptoms in the same way again. As a partner, the first thing to consider is how you can help without overhelping, overstriving, or overexpecting, even if it's well-intentioned. In the second video, I shared some ways to help your loved one reverse and cope with their brain fog. And one of the most frustrating aspects of brain fog that I commonly hear is the lack of control over something that's so disruptive to daily living, both for the brain fog sufferer and their loved one. And that's why I'm doing this video series. Because it can be hard to know where to draw the lines, and it can be easy to get tangled up in the problems that brain fog can create, because you care for this person and you don't want them to suffer. But it's important to recognize that brain fog management is theirs to own. What's yours to own is how you partner with them to accomplish that. So here are some basic practices, and I call them that purposefully, because with practice, they get easier, more effective, and part of your regular way of interacting. So first is to acknowledge your own limits, whether that's pertaining to your acceptance or control over the situation, your ability or willingness to support, or even your capability to step back when needed. Become aware of how your limits shape the shared brain fog experience. What's your role in all of this? Second, engage in good self-care, especially on brain foggy days when your patience is likely to get tested, and you might have to pitch in a little extra. Your loved one's brain foggy days are also likely to require greater flexibility on your part, and that requires extra resourcing for you so that you can stretch and not crack. The third consideration is to use a light touch when offering resources, tools, and strategies. As much as you may want to help, you can't control the choices that they make. And even if you discovered the best solution, if your loved one is in denial about the need for help, or is unwilling or unmotivated to try this wonderful solution, ultimately it is their choice to make. The best you can do is to offer it without attachment to how they take in or do what you've shared. Do something with what you've shared. Similarly, it's best to avoid overly evaluating whether they're doing it enough or correctly. Seek to understand why their use is different than what you expected. Are they wrestling with an obstacle that you don't see? Do they need more support than either of you realized to make it doable? Is it as good of a fit as it seemed to you? These are all questions that you'll likely want to ask. On a related note, it's important to keep in perspective what you might have control over concerning the brain fog. It's that little shared slice between you and your loved one. So how you manage your mindset can make an important difference in how well you both adapt to, cope with, and overcome brain fog. To the extent possible, creating an ongoing safe space for non-judgmental dialogue about what's observed and experienced is crucial, both for you and your loved one. The problem lies with the brain fog, not your loved one. And the more you can view brain fog as a temporary condition, like the San Francisco Bay Area is known for, the easier it'll be to mentally separate it from your loved one and all that you share. Whether fog rolls in or not, San Francisco is still the same, whether it looks or feels differently. And be sure to ask questions. As I mentioned earlier, none of us can really know what's happening inside of another person's body or experience. And if you find yourself feeling critical, ask what that is truly about. What's really going on? Are you under-resourced? Could a break help? A snack? A nap? Or are you ignoring, denying, or avoiding something? And are you seeing things as they are or through the lens of how you'd like them to be? One tactic you can use to help yourself is to step back and refocus on what you can control. And I mean to literally step back from the situation. With practice, you can train yourself to name the mental state that's happening inside and bring it to your awareness, which will give you the opportunity to refocus in a different way. So for example, if you name the state that comes up for you as in charge, you might say to yourself, who's in charge here? I better step back to take a better view and see. And then step back for a 2-minute think. Who needs to be in charge of this situation, and how so? In some cases, you may truly need to be the person in charge. And if that's the case, check in with your loved one to make sure that they're on the same page and agree. But if the situation is not in your charge, then find a way to create a better space for you to assist as needed. When brains seem broken, it can be hard to see beyond what seems so cracked. When I was a special educator, we were trained to avoid the trap of focusing too narrowly on what wasn't working like we hoped, expected, or needed. So these are some reminders to help you stay grounded in the bigger picture. First, remember that brain fog is transient. It's not permanent. It will come and go based on the amount of inflammation that's circulating in your loved one's body. Also, your loved one is capable. Be sure to notice and acknowledge what they can do well. And third, how brain fog is jointly experienced matters, right? How it affects you matters. All right. Now take a moment to reflect on what you've learned across the 3 videos in this series and answer these questions for yourself. And in the heart, I've added a few words that maybe can help warm up your brain, right? I want you to reflect on, what do you want most for your loved one? Also, now that you understand brain fog better, how can you facilitate or partner better? What is it you can do? And finally, what's one specific action that you can take to enhance your essential support around brain fog? And if you need to write these things down to remind yourself, pause the video and just give this a little write. Thank you again for tuning in to this opportunity to learn more. If you're interested in receiving some uplifting ways to stay resilient, I write a monthly newsletter that's called Resilient Living that you can subscribe to on my website, which is www.naturalcapacities.com. And each month, on the last Friday, I unpack a different resilience theme using research takeaways, some quotes, and doable activities that you can try to help you think, feel, and do better. Take care and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.